make our caramelized nuts. So in a pan, add your pecans, walnuts here that I have equal amounts. And then I have my hazelnuts and almonds as well. You can use different nuts that you like. We're going to roast these for a few minutes, and then when they sort of get nice kind of hot temperature, we're going to add the sugar, and we're just going to spread it around. We're not going to mix it too much. We're going to leave it for it to completely melt. You can move the pan around when you start to see the sugar is caramelizing from one side, and then just keep going around until all the sugar is melted and it completely changes the color to sort of like amber golden. Once your nuts are all done, they're going to be nice and sticky and look just like that. I have prepared a baking tray with baking paper, and I'm adding my caramelized nuts inside. So make sure you scrub down all the sugar from the pan as well and cover the nuts. Leave them to set completely, and once they hardened, you're going to use a sharp knife. So they should become nice and hard like candy. You want to then use a knife and break it into nice small pieces. At this stage, I'm adding these into a food processor because you can't break them by hand. You want to blitz this together until you get nice, beautiful sort of sugar nut paste or powder, just like this. In a bowl, add creme fraiche, and then you want to add sour cream. And you're going to whisk this together on a medium speed until it's all combined. Then you want to add a little bit of sugar and whisk this again. In a separate bowl, add sugar and cream and whisk until you get nice soft peaks, but make sure you don't over whisk the mixture. And then we're going to be adding this cream into our sour cream mixture. So add a tablespoon at a time and just mix everything together until you get nice sort of consistency. It's nice and airy and the cream is absolutely smooth and beautiful. Don't rush this step, as you do want to add a little bit at a time to make sure you don't over whisk anything. When the cream is done, in a separate bowl you want to add your caramel. You can use a shop bought, or you can boil a can of condensed milk for 3 hours and whisk it on high speed. And then we're going to add half of our white mixture and mix everything together until you get nice caramel cream. Now we're going to make our honey dough. In a large pan, add your unsalted butter and melt it until it's quite liquid. Then add sugar and mix everything together until it is incorporated. I'm using very low heat to make sure everything is mixed through and the butter and sugar mixture is not too hot. Then we're going to add baking soda, mix that in, and then we're going to add our eggs. And you want to whisk at this stage really quickly and lower the heat completely. Just keep whisking and whisking. You will start to see the mixture is bubbling. Then add your honey and then start to whisk again. This whole process will take 5 to 8 minutes. You need to stay by the pan and just keep whisking to make sure the mixture doesn't burn. You will see that the color starts to change and it's going to become quite golden and nice, just like that. So on a very low heat, just keep whisking your mixture up and down. Now the color, I'm happy with that, that's done. We're just going to now add our flour. I'm adding half of the flour at a time and then mixing it together just to make sure we don't have any lumps. Then add more flour and mix everything together. It's always better to add a bit less flour than more flour, just in case. We don't want very dry sponge, otherwise it's not going to be able to roll out. So just keep adding flour until you feel that the mixture is sticky, but not sticking kind of to your hands and the spatula. I'm adding a bit more flour, and I'm gonna knead my dough on my surface after this, just because it becomes a lot easier to do it on the So add more flour onto your surface. The dough is still very sticky. Transfer your dough. It's very hot, so be very careful. Make sure you add more flour on top and all over your hands. And just knead the dough a little bit to make sure it's nice and smooth and all kind of coming together. Don't want to lose any bits. And then we're going to stretch the dough into kind of a long sausage. So just keep stretching it out. And then we're going to cut it into equal sizes. I've managed to get actually 10 layers out of this dough, and the cake was not huge, but it was a good size. So if you're making a larger cake, you might want to double the ingredients. Then just roll the dough into a little ball and place it onto your surface. Make sure you cover the dough with damp towel while you roll each piece, just so it doesn't dry out. Now for the baking stage, just add flour on some parchment paper and just gently roll out your piece of dough. It's very, very thin, so you have to go very slow, and you just need to make sure you get all the edges. Just keep rolling it to a desired shape of your cake. So it depends what shape you want to do. You can do squares, you can do rounds. So I'm just rolling it all out, and then I'm going to measure with my cake tin. Then gently cut around the circle. And if you're missing any pieces, just kind of put them back on there and roll it over, and you're gonna get a nice circle. Like I said, the dough is very, very thin, so it's okay if it's not too perfect. And we're gonna keep all the scraps as well. So we're gonna bake this for about 2 to 3 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit. That just depends on your oven how long. When it's done, you can just leave them to cool down for a couple of minutes, and then just flip it over and take off the parchment paper really slowly. And then leave the dough to cool down. Once you've done all your layers, we're gonna keep the scraps. While our layers are cooling down, we're gonna chop our fruits. So cut your banana in half and then chop it up into small pieces. You do want to make them relatively small because you're gonna have each bite. We're gonna do the same with our strawberries and our kiwis. Now we're ready to assemble our cake. We've got our bananas, strawberries and kiwis and our nut powder. Now my beautiful layers are done. Look at these. So nice and ready to go. Now it's time to assemble the cake. Add your cream on top of your decorative plate. Add the first layer of your honey sponge, and then we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of our white cream mixture. Mix everything around and go around the sides and the middle. Make sure it's nice and even. Then we're going to add our second layer and do the same thing. We're going to add the cream, the white one. And then we're going to add the kiwis. So make sure they spread around and evenly around the whole sort of diameter. And next we're going to take our honey sponge, add cream on the side and use about 1 tablespoon. And you want to make sure it's nice and even. Flip that around and put it on top. This will also make sure that the cake is very nice and moist and has enough cream everywhere. Then take your caramel mousse, caramel cream, and spread it around as well. And you want to add the nuts that we have done earlier. So be as generous as you can because we've got a lot of them and you do want to have that crunch. And then you're going to do the same thing, layer the sides and then put it on top. So technically we're putting cream on both sides of your cake. Next we're taking the white cream, adding chopped bananas and also our chopped strawberries. We're going to use all of them here, so spread them evenly. And then do the same thing. We're going to add the caramel cream. So you can vary the caramel and white cream depending on how you like it. This is how I do it, but feel free to divide it into any sort of flavors that you like, and just kind of repeat the process with the kiwis. You're gonna go around and make sure you've got it all layered down, and then we're gonna add more strawberries on top and cover it with another layer of our honey dough. Lastly, you're gonna add more cream, and at this stage we're gonna add our caramelized nuts and put our final layer on top. So you want to then go around the entire cake, make sure it's nice and covered and sort of come coated around. Make sure all the layers are sealed and have enough cream everywhere. When that's done, we're going to use our nuts to decorate on top and on the sides. You should have enough praline or nut mixture to go around the cake. So feel free to decorate it how you like it, with strawberries, kiwis. You can also add other fresh fruit if you want. I don't recommend adding bananas as they do go gray. And once everything put your cake into the fridge for at least 6 to 8 hours to soak up. The next day the cake is absolutely beautiful. It keeps the shape, the layers have soaked up all the cream. It's so soft and absolutely moist. You can see the knife just goes through the cake like butter. And yeah, I'm gonna show you all the layers inside. Just look at that, guys. You've got your kiwi, you've got the strawberry, you've got banana, you've got the cream, you've got the nuts. I can't believe the combination is so good. It really reminds me of my childhood cake that I used to have, and all the flavors are absolutely amazing. I hope